Mentoring and coaching. What's the difference and why do managers and leaders need to do both? Let's get into it. Mentoring and coaching are both tools to help you create a high-performing team, whether that's your department or your project team. Harvard Business Review has talked about coaching versus mentoring in a recent report, and they say managers should do both. What's the difference between coaching and mentoring? Well, let's summarize. Coaching is in support of learning. It's generally done on the job, so it's performance focused. We're not talking about life coaching, we're talking about on-the-job coaching here. It's also collaborative. If you have a highly skilled person, you can have them coach others on how to do that task. Why is that important? Because this kind of coaching can increase return on investment of your team or department by 220%. How does that differ from mentoring? Well, mentoring isn't on the job. It's about that person's personal journey, planning their growth model. So it's really in support of growth, future focused for that person, and it's personal, it's not collaborative. Mentoring programs retain their staff up to 68% better than their peer companies. So mentoring and coaching both have great outcomes for the people involved and the organizations. So you might be asking, when to coach and when to mentor? So let's take a look at this card. When to coach? When it's a process you need to share or a skill. When you're either training someone for the first time or taking corrective action. Maybe they didn't learn it so well the first time and they need to review how it should be done. Now let's take a look at when to mentor. Mentoring has a whole other approach to it, and that really is focused on people's individual growth. Mentoring is really about setting longer-term goals. So it's not a task today or tomorrow. It's really about planning 3, 6, 9 months, a year out in terms of how they want to grow as individuals, as leaders, and in their technical area potentially. So some tips when coaching, which you'll again find in my blog, the link will be below. Set up training sessions to make sure everyone knows how that particular step is done. If you're doing a project, you'll want to talk about how project reporting is done, the timing, who that reporting goes to, and what that reporting is meant to do. This can help people know what kinds of work they need to do to create better reporting for the outcome you're looking for. Coaching can also help with expectation setting. If you're experiencing a problem with people wanting to go their own way and not follow the processes, you can talk about the why, the how, and the what of your processes and make sure everyone's expectations are set equally at the same time. And for coaching, you do need to consider time and place. Sometimes the work just needs to get done, and so you need to help that person, but that's not the moment to actually train or coach them. Make sure the task and the outcome are clear. You want to make sure the person understands why they're doing the task and how that task fits into the process ecosystem so that they can be mindful of the upstream and downstream effect of their work. When coaching, you might also consider the different ways of working, because the fact is, if there's a lot of different ways to do a process, let that person pick the one that feels best for them. Let people have a little room for their own growth and their own thinking outside the box about the best way to do it. In fact, oftentimes, they'll improve the process. They'll certainly understand it better because they're doing it in a way that makes sense to them, and they'll also be more invested in that process because they had a hand in it. Let your people shine by letting them coach others, and make sure you're having the right person do the training. They understand the topic, they understand the process, and they understand the concept of how to coach. You think that's not important maybe, but I'll tell you it is. If you can grow people on your team from junior to senior to lead, you're not just helping that person grow, you're helping all the people around them see what the potential is in the organization. And if you want to teach your team how to coach and really inspire them to do that on the job, you might want to take them through this and even adjust it for your team to explain the why and the how, to give leverage to the concept of what that person needs to know in the moment and don't overtrain and overwhelm people, but also where to give latitude. So where to let people figure it out for themselves and adopt small changes that make more sense for that individual. Tips for mentoring. Identify that the person wants to come to you and ask for mentoring, but also look for people who have leadership natural skills and ask them if they would like to be mentored to develop those skills. And what managers need to consider in terms of mentoring is, do you have time to do it? It's important to time box mentoring so that it doesn't interfere with but augments the time you're spending managing and helping your people grow. Also ask, is this the right time to mentor this person and am I the right person to do it? It could be finding a mentor outside the department or team is another way of working. It can be that that person is a little bit reticent or a little bit reluctant to talk to you about some of their goals because they think, hey, my goal is to leave the company. Well, first of all, I don't think that's a problem, because anytime you have people leaving the organization or leaving your department, you've got friends in new places, and that's never a bad thing. It can be good to have mentors from outside the department to mentor these people, to give them a little bit more latitude and just a different point of view. As you start to do this mentoring process, you'll want to set those expectations, make sure the fit's right, make sure the timing's right, and then make sure you both have an outcome you're working toward. So there's 3 things for both mentoring and coaching that you're going to want to take into consideration in addition to everything I've talked about. Be intentional. You need to know this is a coaching moment, this is a mentoring moment. Creating the culture of coaching and mentoring takes away a lot of the negative connotations that many organizations have. I recently did a presentation to a group that felt that the culture had to change first, and I believe it's a little step by step. You do a little bit of coaching and mentoring, you change the culture. You do a little bit more, you change the culture. The process can't wait for a total culture shift. Start in small steps. Be prepared. So how do you know you're prepared to coach? When you see a need or see an ask from a person, and also you're clear about who's the right person. Are you the right person? If not, don't do that coaching. Get someone else to do it. And the same with mentoring. You want to be intentional and be prepared. Be sensitive. You don't want coaching to come off as just another feedback point that's going to show up in their review and be a ding. Once they feel that's happening, coaching is not going to be well received. And the same with mentoring. If you're judging people when you're mentoring, you will shut that process down. If you want to know more about high-performing teams and how to create them, check out this video. And I'll also put a card here at the end so that you can watch that video on how to mentor. I hope you found this information helpful. If you did, see